Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving into a personality trait that describes, well, maybe half the people you know, but it's also one of the most misunderstood things about us. We're talking about introverts, but I guarantee it's not in the way you think.
So, what if that one simple label we use for quiet people wasn't just a little bit off, but almost completely wrong? That's what we're digging into today, because it turns out introvert isn't one thing at all. It's hiding a way more fascinating reality.
Let's just start with this number. Somewhere between 30 and 50% of the world's population is introverted. I mean, think about that. That's billions of people. And they definitely don't all act the same, so how could one little word possibly describe all of them?
Well, the simple answer is it can't. Research from a psychology professor at Wellesley College actually found there are four totally distinct types of introverts, four completely different ways of being in the world that we've just been lumping together. And by the end of this, you're going to know all four, and I bet you'll have a huge aha moment about yourself or at least someone you love. Okay, let's get right into our first type, the social introvert. I know, the name itself sounds like it makes no sense, but they call this one the social surprise for a reason. It's the person you would never ever guess is an introvert. You know this person, right? That friend who is absolutely magnetic at a dinner party. They're telling hilarious stories, they're engaging, they are the life of the party. You'd swear they were an extrovert. But then, like clockwork, it hits 10 p.m. and poof, they're gone. And you probably won't hear from them tomorrow because they need to be completely alone to get their energy back. That right there is a classic social introvert. And honestly, this phone battery metaphor is perfect. A social introvert's energy doesn't just fade away, it hits a brick wall. One minute they are fully on, and the next, the battery is at zero, and the whole system just shuts down. It's not a slow decline, it's a sudden stop. And here is the absolute key to understanding this. It has nothing to do with how much they enjoy being social. They might love it. The difference is all in the brain. Research shows an introvert's brain is just more sensitive. It reacts more intensely to social rewards like dopamine. So the same party that totally energizes an extrovert can literally overwhelm and drain an introvert. It's just brain chemistry. All right, let's move on to our second type, the thinking introvert. The nickname for this one is the deep processor, and it perfectly describes that person who is always there, always present, but sometimes feels like they're a million miles away. You see, for thinking introverts, there is a whole universe running inside their head, 24/7. So when they're quiet in a meeting, they're not checked out. They're actually deeply engaged. They're analyzing, they're making connections, they're feeling things on a really profound level. They're processing everything, just not out loud. I love this analogy. Their mind is like a web browser with 47 tabs open at all times. They're not being distant. They are juggling a massive amount of information. And trying to boil down that complex inner world into small talk can feel almost impossible, so they often stay quiet. But trust me, when they do finally share what's on their mind, it's almost always worth the wait. Okay, so now we get to the type that causes the most confusion, the anxious introvert. They're nicknamed the replayer, and that's the key to understanding them. And it's so important to get that this is different from having social anxiety. For the anxious introvert, the social event isn't really over when they leave. In a way, that's when the real event starts, the replay. They'll sit and just rewind conversations over and over, picking apart every little thing they said. Did I sound stupid? Was that joke weird? Even if the night was amazing, their brain is scanning for what could have gone wrong. And this slide right here is so important. Being an anxious introvert is a personality trait. It's about overthinking things after they happen. But social anxiety disorder is a clinical health condition. If just the thought of going out makes your heart race or makes you shake, and it causes you to avoid things, that's a sign that it might be a good idea to talk to a professional. They're two different things. But here's the superpower of this trait. Because they spend so much time replaying interactions, anxious introverts are often the most thoughtful and caring friends you could ever ask for. They're the ones who remember that tiny detail you mentioned weeks ago and ask you about it. That tendency to overthink is also a deep capacity for caring. Okay, deep breath. We've covered 3 really different types of introverts, but I've been saving this last one, because this next type is the one that research suggests is actually the single most common, and yet most of us have never even heard of it. So let's meet our fourth and final type, the restrained introvert, better known as the preparer. This is the person who needs time to warm up, not just at the party, but hours or even days before the party even starts.
Picture this, it's Thursday, and a friend texts you, "Hey, we're all going out tonight, you should come." For a restrained introvert, that spontaneous invitation can cause genuine stress. It's not because they're shy, and it's not because they don't want to see you. It's because they need time to get ready on the inside. They have to mentally and emotionally prepare for a social event.
This really breaks it down perfectly. Think of them as operating on a different timeline. They need advanced notice. That gives them time to do their internal warm-up. And if they get that, they can show up and be fantastic company. But if you spring it on them last minute, their system's first response is often just to shut down.
So let's pull all this back together. What we have here are 4 totally different ways of experiencing the world, 4 different sets of needs, behaviors, and strengths. And we've been cramming them all under this one single, not-so-helpful word, introvert. I mean, just look at this chart. The core needs are completely different. The social introvert needs time to recharge, the thinking introvert needs time to process, the anxious introvert needs reassurance, and the restrained introvert needs time to prepare. It's not one size fits all at all. So what's the big takeaway here? It's really about giving yourself or the people in your life permission. If you're a social introvert, it's okay to be the first one to leave the party. If you're a thinking introvert, your quietness is a sign of depth, not a bug. If you're anxious, your thoughtfulness is a gift. And if you're restrained, you can stop feeling guilty for needing a heads up. The bottom line is, none of these are flaws that you need to fix. They're not problems. It's not about changing who you are. It's about finally understanding your own operating system. It is simply how you're built. And that's where we'll leave it. So my question for you is this. Now that you know these 4 types, who in your life just made a whole lot more sense? Maybe it was yourself, or a friend, or your partner. Suddenly, all those little quirks don't seem so quirky anymore, do they? Thanks for tuning in.